India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will begin his visit to the Nordic city of Stockholm today, making him the first Indian leader to visit Sweden in the last 30 years. He will take part in a unique summit, the India-Nordic Summit. 5 countries that form part of the Nordic region, the 6 leaders will exchange views on regional and global issues such as environment and climate, trade and investment, and discuss areas of future cooperation. WION's Siddhant Sibul reports from Stockholm.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set for his visit to the Nordic country of Sweden. And it's a packed schedule for him. From the big India-Nordic Summit to bilateral engagements with all the 5 Nordic nations, special focus will be on the first ever India-Nordic Summit. India and Sweden will co-host the summit in Stockholm on 17th of April. The summit will see the participation of Prime Ministers of India, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway and Sweden. Ahead of his visit, Prime Minister Modi in his own trademark style tweeted, saying that he is looking forward to holding talks with the leaders. He said, and I quote, "India and Sweden will jointly organize the India-Nordic Summit in Stockholm on 17th April. I look forward to holding talks with the leaders of Finland, Norway, Denmark and Iceland during the meet." The Nordic nations have globally recognized trends in clean technologies, environmental solutions, port modernization, food processing, health, agriculture, infrastructure, skill development and innovation, which are also the focus areas of India's development. Business is high on the agenda as India's trade with these nations was at around $5.3 billion in 2016-2017. The cumulative foreign direct investment to India from these countries is at $2.5 billion. The Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund is one of the biggest single investors in India with an investment of over $11.7 billion at the end of 2017.
Trade is modest in its sense. However, if you look at the global supply chains today, you'll say that investments and trade from all around the world can come from companies which are not specifically here in Sweden. They're Swedish companies, but they can sell from other parts of the world as well. So it's a lot larger than actually the trade figures said. Trade in itself, I think, and investment is looking in a pace right now that we will take the next step and the next step. Ever since the president came a few years ago, momentum has been gaining. And I feel now that when the large visit is coming on Tuesday, then I think we'll be able to take a further step to increase the relationships.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also meet His Majesty King Carl XVI Gustav, King of Sweden, and hold consultations with Prime Minister Stefan Löfven. Focus will be on deepening ties and engagements in sectors such as business, science, technology and energy.
India and Sweden enjoy very warm and friendly relations. We are both democracies. We have shared common beliefs in human values, human liberties. We enjoy excellent cooperation in the multilateral fora, particularly the United Nations.
But it's not all business for the Indian Prime Minister. He will also address the Indian community who's eager to welcome him to their country.
I think India is doing a very good job to develop quickly, especially with the digitalization and making sure that people from all sides of life really can learn and grow. Skill India, Make in India is creating good opportunity for Indian people, and I think this is something that the Swedish people and Swedish small companies and other innovators can really benefit from this sort of relationship with India.
It's the first time that India is having engagement to Europe through not the European Union but through a different format, that is the India-Nordic Summit. So clearly a lot of deliverables are expected, and of course bilaterals are going to happen with all the 5 Nordic countries and of course with Sweden also. And it's after 3 decades that any Indian Prime Minister is coming to Sweden. With video journalist Ramesh, Siddhant Sibul, WION, Sweden.
And joining me on the broadcast is WION's correspondent Siddhant Sibul. He's joining us live from Stockholm. Hi Siddhant, Prime Minister Modi has emplaned from Delhi and will be reaching Stockholm in a while. What is the sense you are getting there in Sweden? What is the sense of anticipation, particularly amongst the Indian diaspora?
Well, it's 2:30 p.m. here in Stockholm. I'm standing at the hotel where Indian Prime Minister is going to stay, the Grand Hotel. And of course, the Indian Prime Minister has left New Delhi and he will be arriving here in Stockholm local time at 2100 hours. But of course, excitement here, it's palpable in the air. And of course, the Indian diaspora, he will be meeting the Indian diaspora. It's a permanent fixture whenever he goes abroad, wherever he goes, he meets the Indian diaspora and the business leaders. These are two things which are going to happen tomorrow. But other than that, the main focus is on the India-Nordic summit. It's the first time that such a summit is happening between Nordic countries and a particular country, this time around India. The first time it happened was in the tenure of the US President Barack Obama. And let me tell you that Nordic countries, maybe 5 different countries, but they are very similar when it comes to culture, when it comes to history, when it comes to language. They were a part of a union called Kalmar Union. And if we just combine all the countries, they'll form the 7th largest country in the world, and GDP-wise, the 12th largest, way above Australia, Spain, and even South Korea. So clearly a lot of potential. These are countries who are like world leaders in innovation, in high-end technology, something very smart, in a sense, smart transport. Sweden here is a cashless society. If you have to go out, you can pay through card all the time. You don't even have to use cash. I know people here who haven't used cash for last 6 years, something that India would like to emulate. We have programs such as Swachh Bharat, Smart Cities, Clean Ganga, where the Nordic countries can help. And these are countries who have influential voice on a global platform, particularly at the United Nations, something that India obviously would like to be part of. And of course, Sweden will be where the Indian Prime Minister will be coming. It's after 3 decades that any Indian Prime Minister is coming to Sweden. The last time an Indian Prime Minister came was in the year 1988.
Absolutely, Siddhant, and that is what I was coming to next. The fact that it has taken an Indian Prime Minister 3 decades to go to Sweden, what does it reflect about India's foreign policy in the previous years? The fact that there have been so many countries where no Indian Premier visited for so long. And now, after 3 decades, the fact that Prime Minister Modi will be in Sweden, he's attending this all-important summit. What are the big takeaways India is looking out for from this summit?
Well, under the leadership of the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, we have seen the Indian foreign policy thinking out of the box, and this summit is a perfect example of thinking out of the box. India-Nordic summit, it's like India engaging not with one country in Nordics, but with the entire Nordic region through this format. And as you said that there were many countries where Indian Prime Minister hasn't visited, and under the leadership of the new Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he is breaking new grounds, and this is a new format. In a sense, it's basically aligning the domestic needs of the country, that's India, with its foreign policy. So foreign policy basically being used for domestic needs. So these are countries who are very good at high-end technology, smart cities, smart transport. Remember, Volvo has been providing buses in India, and of course with this new engagement, the focus is also on business. India is the 2nd largest economy in Asia, a fast-growing economy. It wants energy, it wants resources, and these countries are very good when it comes to renewable. Iceland basically works on renewables. The country has a lot of geothermal power, and these countries have know-how that can help India in energy sector. So energy will be one focus, smart cities will be another focus, innovation will be the focus. So a lot of things are on the table, and of course a pretty historic visit when it comes to Indian Prime Minister's visit to Stockholm, and he will be having bilaterals not only with the Prime Minister of Sweden, who by the way will be going to the airport to receive him, breaking the protocol for the first time for any foreign leader. And this is what Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been doing in India. Remember, in 2018 itself, he has been to the airport. He broke the protocol to meet the Israeli Prime Minister, the Jordanian King, the French leader. So clearly, it's growing stature of the stature of India that has been lauded. And of course, because of that reason, that the Swedish Prime Minister is now going to the airport, but the Indian Prime Minister is going to also have bilateral with other countries.
Absolutely.
And of course, lot is on the table when it comes to Norway, Denmark, Iceland and other countries.
Indeed, we'll have to leave it at that for the moment. Siddhant, thank you so much for joining us with your updates and perspective.